Hi. Greetings to you when you're watching this. I was going to say good evening, but yeah. Hi, whatever time you're watching it. I hope that you're well. I these last few days honestly have been really energetically intense for me in a way that as I had done in last week's reading, I had anticipated. If you tuned into last week's reading, which I will link in the description of this video, I kept mentioning the fact that I was delivering a lot of passion for a future version of myself that would likely be caught in a state of victimhood or disempowerment. And the week was going pretty well up until, like I said a few days ago, where I, as I predicted for myself, would be found in a moment or situation of, like I said, disempowerment and victimhood. It came in the 11th hour. And while I did revisit my previous weekly reading, and while it did help, I realized as well and had to come to terms with the fact that, and I tweeted about this as well, that with the general energetic shifts, these things are they're only going to help so much. They're only supposed to help so much. And for the rest of what is left for us to personally process, we have to personally process it. So I had tweeted about the fact that when I feel these energetic shifts, these solar flares, the odd Schumann resonance scales, my moods are very swingy. And I often find myself like overwhelming my own self with feelings of sadness, depression, disempowerment, victimhood. And when I face those emotions, nothing helps. So I will try breath work, I will try yoga, and actually did make a video delivering this frequency where I had said that I'd done everything that I was supposed to do, right down to on the day that I'd recorded the video, which I will link in the description of this live stream. I had said that I was also microdosing. So I'd figured that with everything that I had done, that I shouldn't be feeling that low frequency anymore, right? But I was still feeling it, and just like today, it is still here. In this moment, as I prepared for this live, and I'm sure as you can catch in the beginning of watching this live stream, I'm processing a lot of shame, a lot of like self-inflicted shame. This frequency of not being good enough, of not doing well enough, of not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, not being helpful. I actually researched the definition of shame. So just to read the whole thing as per Google, because it captured this emotion pretty well. The first definition here says a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. And the question with facing this feeling is wrong according to who? Foolish according to what standards, you know? Before as well, sitting, because I meditated before coming on to this live, I had the question held inside of me of where does all of this shame actually come from? And I know it's not just a personal thing. It feels like collectively we've all I'm sure we actually can all understand where it comes from now. But it's just fascinating, I guess, in general that, hey, Peladi, it's fascinating in general that this this frequency of shame has overcome the whole lot of us collectively, and I think specifically it's mostly largely affected the class of the oppressed. Thank you for letting me know. I hope that I can be heard now. Hopefully it's better. It's unfortunate then because I've been doing 5 minutes of that sound, so hopefully I can be heard. Please let me know if it's improved, if the sound's improved. And thank you again for asking that question. Yeah, shame and how it has affected the oppressed. And thank you. And how and the question of where it originated, if it is that we are made in God's image, if our birthright is abundance, if we are very naturally and innately powerful, then why are we so ridden with shame? Shame itself shouldn't even be a frequency that we generally feel. We should not, like, there shouldn't be even a slither of that frequency that should not be felt anywhere within our bodies. Yet it feels as though it's like kind of overpowering right now. And it may be a theme continuing into this month as we try to process the contraction feeling of being alive. I've put the thumbnail of this live stream is the vibrational frequency of emotional well-being. That's what the caption of that image is called. And the reason that I put that as the thumbnail of this live stream is because I believe that, I think we've been working through the whole chart since the beginning of time, to be honest, but since specifically around just before COVID, 2018-ish, it feels like we've been working slowly through that whole chart. But it also feels like we've been doing this. And then we climb down, and then we go up, and then we go down again, and then we go all the way up, and then we go down again. And it feels like eventually with what's been predicted to happen over the next few years, specifically around 2027, building up to 2027, and then finally culminating to 2023, it feels like we are working towards shooting through that frequency chart, which I think at the top is, let me just revisit that chart. At the top is enlightenment, ultimate consciousness, which, if you're not familiar, is all those dimensions that people have spoken about, greater than 5D, how we're in 3D right now. We are, climbing our way to 5D and then 7D, and apparently there are like 12 dimensions in total. And the 12th dimension is where we can shed our body and choose to die and change form according to what we consciously choose, which is rumored to not be able to be achieved in a single lifetime. But then there are also other people who are saying that it's with the great strides that we're making right now as a humanity, that it is actually possible. Lots of exciting things happening energetically. However, again, it doesn't very much feel that way. It's been very hard to not just keep the faith, because I do believe that at this point it's not really about whether or not we are hopeful about things working out. It's like if we sit and say that things are going to work out, we are hoping for the light frequency that's standing over there far away from us. But the point is to understand that the light frequency is a current embodiment. It's something available to us in the moment, so that we no longer speak of things happening far away, or so we no longer speak of these things as removed from us. I feel like I've jumped too far now, and I need to ground myself into the language that we're dealing with, which again, as I've put in the thumbnail, is about shame. It's about the red part of the emotional frequency scale. Shame, guilt, embarrassment, holding ourselves to standards that don't even make any sense, that were unrealistic. Hello, synthesized souls. Sorry, everyone. Please give me a moment. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, to be quite honest as well, energetically, I'm not feeling my best. And I can't even account for where exactly, I can't account for where my awareness is. It's been out of sorts, like I said, for the past 2 days. Dreaming has been strange. Energetically, I've been really struggling to ground myself. And like I said, not just to stay hopeful, but to stay it feels like I've disassociated a little bit. And I feel very wrapped up in that frequency that I was chatting about, the shame, the guilt, the I feel like I'm doing everything wrong, but what is right, And I have these two conflicting emotions within me. It's like I have the wounded inner child with the higher wisdom or higher self, and it's like they keep butting heads. I'm really struggling to find that middle ground. But before coming on here, like I said, I did take some time to meditate and came to my own conclusion that we are, there feels to be like a really huge finality in this frequency of shame, of feeling like you're doing everything wrong, like you're not doing enough, you're not doing things right enough. I feel in my own body as I process these emotions, an extension of last week's weekly reading, where I just feel really exhausted by it. It feels like it's enough now. It's truly enough of this, of feeling like you are, of being removed from the divine experience of living. It's enough. It's enough of allowing ourselves to be convinced out of the fact that we are living a divine, energetic experience. So it's as if whatever used to be able to pull us back into frequency of fear, doubt, not doing enough, not good enough, whatever used to work, it's like it is a being or entity of its own that is really holding us by the neck and doing everything it can in a panic to keep us in this, I'm not good enough, I'm unloved, I need to keep trying and climbing and scratching and clinging, this desperation of needing to needing to prove yourself, needing to be good enough. It feels like that frequency itself as an entity is at a panic right now. Because as well, it feels like we're very, very close to the release and the freedom of knowing that every moment is perfect as it is, and you don't have to do too much. You are always doing enough. You are always reaching the standard because you create the standard. You make it. There is no specific or collective group standard that is there's no collective or group standard that is the standard for everyone. Like, you are allowed to make your own rules. You really are. And you're safe to be able to define them as such. No one is holding a gun to your head. Please wait, baby. Look. Okay. And you're always safe with each rule that you make. So long as an extension of what I read for last week and what I spoke on last week, as long as you understand, as long as you know, not just believe, you know that you will always be protected, you will always be safe no matter what decision you make, then the universe, your God, whatever angels you believe in, can meet you where you're at and protect you. Again, if you don't know that you are protected under every circumstance, under every choice you make, if you don't know it, then that itself, that lack of knowing, is like I don't know if this word is correct, it's like a disinvitation. It's like you are uninvited. It's like you're closing the door of possibility, of the possibility of your universe to be able to protect you under those conditions. So, hi, dear. I don't do, this isn't a personal reading live. This is a collective kind of thing. If you seek personal readings, then you can reach out to me or wait until I do one of my tarot and chills where I pull cards for people. And happy birthday. So yeah, sorry, let me just ground myself quickly. So I addressed the panic, the desperation. This desperation, I feel like this desperation in itself is going to reflect as a desperation in you, or as a desperation in other, potential desperation in other individuals, where there'll just be this general frequency of panic, where it will almost feel like people, sorry about the streaming. I've received a notification that it's not that great, but it will eventually improve. I've received, sorry. I'm so sorry for also how ditzy I am, and, you know, I will ground myself. It may, this frequency of panic may reflect in other people, may reflect in yourself as a frequency of panic, where it'll almost be as if people aren't really themselves. Lots of like, not really, I'm receiving this vibe of like fast pace, of fast moving, stress, anxiety, but it's not like, it's like, I'm specifically seeing people observing other people moving in a panic and frantic, and those observers going, why are you doing this? What is going on? Or you, your own self, and I think I mentioned this as well last week, you're moving in autopilot, moving very, very fast. And then it's as if there'll be like a moment of split, as I'd mentioned earlier in this reading, where it will be like your higher self tuning into that moment going, why are you rushing? Where are you rushing to? Why are you so tense? You know? I suggest that even if you So obviously, if you're experiencing this within you, please be aware of that split within you and try to remember then to listen to your own inner invitation to slow down. I actually saw a post about this on social media earlier today about how living in survival mode, and I guess according to what the thumbnail that I've posted, living in the lower vibrational frequency makes you rush, and it makes everything urgent and like you need to be in a rush all the time, and it makes you really, really tight. It's in the contraction area of the chart. And in the video on social media, and I'm sure we've actually all seen something like this, she demonstrated the action of walking fast, moving fast, doing things fast, tensing, and having a moment of pause, like, wait, what? And then she relaxes her shoulders. She starts wiping slower, walking slower, that kind of thing. I'm seeing that happen for a lot of us, which is great. And again, to finish the sentence that I'd started, I hope that you can remember to listen to that invitation, that inner invitation, or if someone, hopefully, and this would be lovely, if you have people in your community who can literally remind you to slow down and to relax your shoulders and to relax your eyebrow creases and to bring to relax your facial muscles when they see you tense up. I think it would be very useful for the whole lot of us because, just this, I feel like we're going to be receiving a lot of pressure. It feels largely internal because I think that we're clearing out the remnants of shame in our heart space, so that it may also play out as you feeling very anxious or depressed or whatever out of nowhere. Lots of like up and down emotionally, lots of up and down. I can't fully speak on what could help you bring you into the moment. I once read that it could be helpful to have like an elastic band or something around your wrist that you could like pull to kind of snap you back into the moment anytime you feel like you've strayed. Stress balls apparently are very helpful too, although honestly, none of that has helped me. I get so taken away by the winds of my own thoughts that really all that helps me is meditation and exercise and keeping up with the ritual practices that I have on a daily basis that can like close the gap between my ego and the present moment. Just doing everything I can to maintain that. Sobriety has definitely helped as well. And ironically enough, coffee as well has helped me. It helps me sharpen my awareness. Because as well, without that, I feel like such a victim of the energetic influences of time. Sometimes I'll find myself really, really exhausted at 12 p.m. and then very alive and very awake by 11 p.m. So I don't know, something to like keep whatever you need to do to keep yourself grounded, And then just to bring back what I mentioned earlier in the video, sometimes what usually works won't work. And I take that as a sign that these emotions are important. Whatever sadness or anxiety I'm processing is very important for me to process in the moment, and it's necessary for me to surrender to that. So hopefully you'll be able to practice that as well. And please try to be gentle with yourselves. Try to be really, really gentle with yourself and give yourself as much room and patience to be as emotional as you need to be, as expressive as you need to be. Again, it would be really like, God bless you if you have a community who can hold you accountable and hold you tenderly through your processes. It feels like a lot of pressure is going to be put onto our energetic and emotional body, as I've been repeating actually throughout this live stream as we're doing the shame work. It's again, I've highlighted it in the thumbnail. It's at the very bottom of the vibrational frequency scale. So it's like it's pretty much like the most it's the most difficult frequency to process, is where we're at right now. So be forgiving of yourself and of everyone around you, and try to be patient. Try to be patient, and remember that unfortunately, not everyone will deserve your patience. It also feels like that will be tested during this time, given the general frantic energy in the air and the potential for projection and weird behaviors from people. You may be faced with varying situations where you will be tested, where your forgiveness and your patience will be tested. And I just want to remind you, assuming that I believe that I'm reading for already extremely forgiving people, our problem will not be forgiveness. Our problem will be boundary setting and knowing who to be patient for and knowing where to draw the line. It feels as well that that's something that's going to come up because of the retrogrades. Past relationships may appear of people and connections that you've had enough of, that where it's done. This person does not deserve a revisiting. They do not deserve the reopening of a can. They do not deserve your forgiveness. They do not deserve your patience. And you will have to draw a hard line on that so that they don't pull you into their chaos. Feels as well that there's going to be a lot of nexuses of chaos, of people kind of crashing out because of their own coping of this shame frequency and of really processing and letting it out. Again, it's the lowest level of the vibrational frequency scale that we are processing and releasing from our emotional space right now. So I believe it harbors the most pain, and it has the most unknown to us. It has the most shadows. Sorry, I'm just double checking on the stream. It has the most shadows. It's where the devil is the most. It's where the devil is the warmest in this area, in this vibrational frequency that we're processing. So very testy grounds. We're in very, very testy grounds. However, like I've said, it's very exciting because I believe that, considering the fact that we are processing the lowest point of the vibrational frequency scale, if we can master this frequency, and if we can really just get over any points of feeling like we're not enough and like we're not doing things right and like we're not at the right place, we're like misaligned. And by the way, even when you perceive yourself to be misaligned, you are aligned. You are always aligned. There is not a single moment that unfolds in this reality that isn't perfect and that isn't meant to happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening. This, again, is a truth that I follow. We are each capable of creating our own truths. Your reality and the way it plays out is up to you. You are at full liberty to disagree with me and say that my beliefs and what I speak on is bullshit. You have your own reality. I have mine. And the magic of this is that we are able to live our truths concurrently and have them be true for us. It's part of the free will thing. It's part of how the devil can exist at all. It's part of the whole deal of samsara. So choose your truth wisely. And I highly recommend choosing the one that says that every moment is perfect, because then you are released from the standards of perfection at all. You're free to do anything you want. You're free to think and choose and be whatever. If every moment is perfect, then so are you. So is your life. So is the fact that you were born at all. It's all perfect. There's something very freeing about that, like I said, very freeing about that I'm feeling into the fact is necessary for us. We are being warmly invited to believe this, because it just makes things easier, and it allows you to really relax and sit back and not hold on so tightly and be so pressured. Is the devil and Lucifer the same? So thank you for asking that question. I don't think I've ever clarified on my readings what I believe in, what I follow. I have read and heard of other people speak of the fact that the devil and Lucifer are not the same thing, that there are many different versions of this entity. But when I speak of the devil, that's why I like to put quotes, because I'm not really speaking of the entity itself. I'm more speaking of the I'm speaking of the deva, or like the deity that rules over the lower frequencies of our emotional well-being, that rules over shame and guilt and all of the reds, the deep reds and the orange in the emotional vibrancy scale. Yeah. So yeah, I don't refer to, when I refer to the devil, it's highly likely that I'm referring to the frequency of fear, essentially. Yeah, which is, which I believe is part of the game of life, and is really a test more than anything. It's nothing bigger than us, and is a tool for self-realization, and that we all have like varying levels of God and the devil within us. And when processing this lower vibrational frequency of shame, you're welcome, we are essentially being invited to accept that within us, accept the devil within us. And in that acceptance, we are able to be more powerful than it. Again, very difficult, we are in very trying times. It's very testy. And I really hope that you can be patient with yourself and with others through this. Again, only be patient with people who you choose to love. Everybody else, just leave them alone. We have done so much forgiving, and we have been so patient already. I think part of the reality that we can be strict about choosing is the love that we have to give is very special. Our awareness and our attention is very special, very valuable currency. And we don't have to feel guilt or shame about giving love to certain people and kind of ignoring the others. You know what I mean? No more guilt, no more shame. No more guilt, no more shame. That's really what it is. Ultimately, we are really releasing that stuff. It's like a purging, like a literal vomiting. And I also feel called to remind us of the tool of physical purging, of Upalaza, which I will link the video of in explanation. I'll link the explanation video of in the description of this video. The tool of purging, like how it plays out in shrooms when you take a psychedelic drug, where you ingest it and then it kind of forces you to literally puke things out, cleaning your insides, and then you feel lighter and all of that afterwards. If you are on that frequency and if you understand what it is that I'm talking about, then yeah, consider it. I have been receiving that call for a few weeks now. However, I been scared to answer it because it's a very intense thing on the body. But yeah, it's feeling like it's becoming more and more necessary. And I also just randomly tapped into something about this full moon that's happening in 5 days, 6 days. It's like something about this full moon is gonna, something about this action. Literally no, it's not. It doesn't feel like eyes were shut tight. It feels like there's a huge. It feels like once this uncovering happens, it's going to change everything about the way that we perceive our lives and our reality. On an individual and collective level. Collectively, it feels like that happens every other week. So I suggest you just keep your eyes on that, because it also feels like we are given little hints about how our lives will be, how our perspectives on our lives will be flipped. I can say that on a personal level, especially considering the title, it feels like it's going to have something to do with the amount of shame I hold in my body that has been uncalled for. It's going to affect confidence levels, self-esteem, which in turn is obviously going to affect the way that I attract things, the people I have confidence in, my trust, my level of trust in myself, in other people, in life in general. Trust also feels like a very big theme, but I think that's closely linked with shame. Anyway, I'm going to pull cards now. I feel like I've spoken enough. I do hope that everybody is well. I feel like I haven't done that well wishes thing. And I mean it every time, because I also really do understand how intense everything feels right now, even if it is, and this feels like a recurring theme. Things could be feeling so intense for you, even if nothing externally is happening, so that it causes a real dissonance or deep confusion, a deep unsettling, where you're like, what's going on? Why would I even be feeling this way if everything presents so peacefully? If you are blessed, if nothing's wrong, then why do I feel like everything's falling apart, Anyway, I send my love to everyone. Oof. Wow. Okay, a whole bunch of cards fell out, and I'd like to put the rest back and leave what stood out, and then we'll explore that energy. So we have the Lovers in reverse, and we have the Page of Cups. I'll start with the Lovers in reverse. I think that the Page of Cups touches on the potential energy that I think I'd mentioned in the Tarot and Chill that I did yesterday or a few days ago. I mentioned how there's a potential, there's intense potential energy in the air, intense potential energy in the air that is constantly and majorly asking or inviting us to choose between fear and love. And this card upright speaks of that invitation as well, of choosing between fear and love, the past or the present/future. And I think it spoke on autonomy or something else. I don't know what the opposite of, symbiosis, choosing between symbiosis and autonomy. That's what upright it says. But reverse is a whole different conversation. It speaks of denying emotions or sensuality, inability to separate from parents or partner, immaturity, inability to make choices and decisions due to fear, may indicate a deep psychic long denied wound and vacillation. And this card, the Page of Cups, in the interpretation of it, also speaks of that frequency of hovering in a very deeply psychic place. So that I think this references the whole dream experience that I believe we've all been having, where just dreaming has been very intense lately. Sometimes it feels, honestly, so I actually spoke to someone about this, where they mentioned that it largely feels like nothing of the dreams are making sense. However, I'm also feeling into the possibility that it's not making sense because there's so much unknown to us. There's so much hidden to us. It feels like we should keep trying to pay attention and be privy to the symbols in our dreams, because there's a puzzle being put together about what's going on. It may not make sense now, but as time progresses, it feels like it's going to start making more and more sense. We're also facing a Neptune-Saturn conjunction, and I think that Neptune recently transited signs into Aries, which I think puts a lot of pressure and focus on the psychic, ethereal, spiritual realms, on their symbolisms, on what they have to say. So I would recommend working with that world as much as you can, meditating as often as you can, or doing whatever practice puts you specifically in that world. I remember mentioning that if you don't meditate, then you could possibly replace it with something like exercise. But again, it feels like we need to slow down, like really slow down. And I wouldn't usually recommend this, but if you do feel brave enough, it feels like a psychedelic experience may be helpful to put everything in order, so to speak, to kind of line things up, because it feels like we're looking at a very discombobulated image of something that just needs a little bit of sorting through so that we can actually understand what's happening, be less fearful, be braver about diving into these psychic planes. It feels like we are being tested. We're being tested regarding our potential. And I'm not talking our potential to because normally it feels like this chat, when our potential comes up, it feels very materialistic. Like the things that you can achieve or what you can do if you have enough discipline or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking specifically about the human potential and consciousness, and the way it links to the consciousness activity links to the way that your reality plays out, the connection between as within, so without. It feels like something about that connection is going to be put under a lot of pressure, so that we can face how true that is. And again, this is energy that I've been reading on, honestly, for weeks now. So it's fascinating that it just feels like it's never ending. Like there's always so much more to learn about the power of consciousness and how incredible it is that we can control it and essentially control our reality. Like if we can gain control, if we can master the power of our minds, the power of our intention, the frequency of our emotional body, if we can control the way we feel, which is I'm saying it very carefully, I'm saying this with extreme cautiousness. If we can control the way we feel, we can control the way we live, and to a certain extent, which is kind of crazy, we can control the way other people think and live. I actually saw this in a reading that Queen Cup D Queen Cup, her name is Destiny. She spoke, and I think it was a recent reading. I'll link it in the description. She spoke on how someone else's intention for you. She specifically linked this to the idea of how you need to believe in your dreams more than your enemies believe in your failure. If your enemies believe in the fact that you are going to fail greater than you believe that you are going to win, you are liable to get caught up in their beliefs of your failure, and then you fail. So it's that kind of thing. But essentially, just the fact that we are extremely powerful beings. We are deeply powerful. And I think I also referenced this in the Tarantula I did yesterday. We have been completely, deeply, criminally misled in our understanding of how powerful we are and how much we control everything about our lives, and to a certain extent, quite a few things about other people's lives. I've mentioned this before. Again, I feel like this was done on purpose. This was done very intentionally. Because if everybody knew how powerful they were, how powerful they have been this entire time, they'd be a lot less easier to control. I was thinking of travel to Peru. Nice. You should. I've seen a lot of wonderful reviews and really sweet vlogs about people having their own Peru ayahuasca experience, and it's always truly transformative. You can see it in their face. I'm sure then you've seen how people have changed and how they look you can see that they start to wear their inner child on their sleeve after that experience. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you do it, and I hope you enjoy it. But yeah, I also think that whether or not you actually do undergo a psychedelic experience, that we will be having one of our own regardless and completely sober. This month, and honestly, the rest of this year is going to be quite fundamental, important. Yeah, no, fundamental is the word for our spiritual growth, realization, understanding of human consciousness in particular. And I actually saw on something that Pam Gregory spoke about. I'll find the video and link that as well. She spoke about how there will be huge leaps of the understanding of human consciousness following these few months and into next year, up until the final transits from the planets going retrograde. So there are certain planets that are in their signs now. They're going to go retrograde, and then they're going to go back into the signs finally for good for the next few years in Feb of next year. So yeah, we should keep an eye out on those kind of things: consciousness, human consciousness evolution, the ways that our minds affect our reality, stuff like that. Which again, I'm sure everybody watching is aware of. So we need to take it seriously. It's wonderful that we are so aware of it. We are truly a lot more ahead than we give ourselves credit for. There are some people who do not know the language of this. Some people completely fear the experience of ayahuasca, and given the propaganda that's now being blasted everywhere, they'll probably never be open to this kind of understanding of the power of human consciousness and certain indigenous medicines. They'll never understand it, and it's extremely unfortunate. But also, this is another frequency that I was tapping into. It's never too late. It'll never be too late. So even if you find yourself or you find someone you care for, because that's also something that's going to be happening quite frequently as well in general. You might find yourself leaving people behind because of the great split. I don't know if you've heard of that, the fact that humanity is going to split with this choice between love and fear. some part of humanity will obviously choose fear, and it will feel as though you are living in a completely different reality from them, even though they are right next to you. You two will be looking at a thing, but you'll be able to see and even feel, considering how we're all becoming intuitive and the spiritual evolution of everything. You'll be able to feel how this person, it feels like they're in a different room. They'll be standing right next to you looking at something. You can feel they're seeing it completely differently. It'll never be too late for this person to be on the same side as you. It'll never be too late to awaken. But the key as well is that you can't force people into their awakening process. You can't force them to start, and you can't force them to keep up with you. You have to keep focused on your own journey and trust that whoever's meant to be beside you will be beside you at the perfect time. And whoever isn't meant to be won't be. And yeah, that'll be that. You won't be able to change anything about that. And it hurts. It really does. Especially when you see someone choose fear and you can't convince them otherwise. So we have the Seven of Swords, which I think feeds into what I've been talking about, specifically with regards to unpacking the power of human consciousness. This card speaks of psychological workings, like the image is essentially of, so these swords that are sitting here and this whole landscape is like our brain, our behavioral patterns, the things that trigger us, our emotional mood swings, all of that stuff. And this figure is essentially us standing, looking at that objectively, in order to understand where everything comes from. I think it's an extension of the energy that I was speaking of earlier, where you may find yourself rushing or find someone else rushing, contracted, speeding, applying urgency to things that really don't need to be that urgent. And yeah, hopefully, again, that you'll be able to remember to slow down, take a beat. I think that especially with how spiritual everything is going to feel, I think that time is going to be affected. It has been, but I think that specifically with all of the intense transits that are happening this month in particular, time is going to feel manipulatable. Is that a word? It's going to feel like it's going to feel more like it's in our hands than usual. So don't be afraid to take a beat. If you find yourself in a Google meeting and someone's pressuring you for a response now, don't be afraid to say, I need to take time to think about this. Please, can you give me a few minutes? Or can we reconvene at a later time during the day? Or can we reschedule? Or, don't feel any shame, because remember, that's the frequency we're working with, yeah? No shame about taking a day off, taking a break, taking a nap, going to the bathroom, even if you don't need the bathroom, just so that you can take a few seconds to yourself and pause. Please don't feel under the pressure of other people, because it feels as well like while you'll be working through all of these things, you'll be hyper aware of yourself, working through your projections, trying your best to remain in your wisdom. There'll be other people who will, in that very same moment, try to add pressure and try to get you to be on their time or work on their time or live life by their rules. You, again, make your own rules. Your life is yours to live. My favorite reference that really knocked me into place, and I'm sure we're all aware of this, but practically speaking, no one else is going to be in the coffin with you when you die. It's just going to be you and you. Try to keep that in mind as you live your life, especially for this week and these coming weeks when our spirits will be deeply tested. But we are getting stronger, which is very good. Very good news. I want to read the keywords of the Seven of Swords really quick. And then I think that I'll just pull one more card and leave it at that, because I'm not really feeling like I can offer any kind of words of advice that will be useful outside, that will be any more useful than you tuning into your own self and trusting yourself. It feels like that ultimately, trusting yourself, trusting your environment, your intuition. I want to highlight the fact that the interpretation of this card speaks of somebody who has a changeling magic, who has a power. They are gifted. It's just the gifts need to be refined and trained, which I think will be done. Like, you have the ability to do that regardless. You have everything you need. You just need to, I think, take a beat, slow down. Let me just tap in here. So the interpretations of this is a situation that requires ingenuity, subtlety, and firm resolve, putting curiosity to good use, intent, daring. There are unseen forces at work that need to be taken into account. A psychological puzzle that requires concentration and dedication if you are to solve it, which I think you are fully capable of doing. We are all fully capable of doing this and operating this within us. It just, I'm really feeling into the need to take your time and really take it. So if there's somebody applying pressure, have enough firm resolve to be able to say, and to be able to, even if it's just within yourself, this pressure is not mine. I don't have to take this on. I'm living in my own reality. I know my truth. I know myself. I'm really seeing as well the image of like someone at work pressurizing you to come with, to come up with a, what? To finish a project on their time, or to quickly do this. Like, how far are you? Is this going to be done? Da-da-da-da. Meanwhile, the project's only due like Friday. They're pressurizing you about this on Tuesday afternoon. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like, it feels like we're going to need to activate huge amounts of self-trust, self-reliance. But it'll only be huge amounts because it will be going up against the shame frequency of being tested about whether or not you're enough. You have nothing to prove. You're always enough. The bar is up to you. There is no bar. There is no the bar. It's only your bar, and you get to decide where that bar is. Please remember that. And I'm going to pull one more card. Okay. So 2 fell out. Justice and the 3 of Discs. I think that this card is especially lovely to be falling out in support of this frequency of what came with this card, with the 7 of Swords and with the Page of Cups, both speaking of the strength in yourself, of the fact that you are powerful, that you have the power to trust yourself. Yeah, that frequency, put on the volume, baby. That frequency of pressure. That frequency of pressure isn't leaving me. I'm also feeling into the possibility, not the possibility, of the certainty that that if there is anybody in your life who does end up pressurizing you, and you by chance fall into that, they'll get their karma for it immediately. Like, they'll try to pressurize you on something stupid, and then as they leave the room, they'll trip on something, that kind of thing. I think you can enjoy witnessing that. And then with the Justice card, the 3 of Discs accompanied it, 3 of Discs, which I think is a invitation to, it's an invitation for us to consider what I'm specifically receiving the question of There is a wound. So we're all walking with the shame frequency, but there's a specific experience in our lives in which this shame frequency was most deeply felt. Possibly a childhood thing, somewhere where we felt very unprotected, where we should have been protected, somewhere where we felt extremely unsupported, where we should have been deeply supported and uplifted and encouraged. And it does feel like it's really inner child work based. So turning to your inner child, if you can extend your awareness and psychological consciousness work this far, face your inner child, possibly in meditation. So find inner child meditations. I will search for some myself and maybe link some in the description of this video. But yeah, I'll have to do them myself. But anyway, face your inner child and ask them what justice looks like for them. What in that exact moment where the most amount of shame was generated in your body, what would you have preferred? What situation, scenario, response, reaction would you have preferred instead of what you actually received that generated that feeling of shame? So I was a very anxious and emotionally sensitive child. And I think that is, if I were to unpack it in this moment, I think that's where most of my shame is stored, in that feeling of shame. Sorry, I think let me just ground myself. I'm sorry. The feeling of being a deeply emotionally sensitive and anxious child, it feels like that is where most of my shame is stored, in having been told that emotion or being that way was not productive for the world. That if I continued being that way, then people would take advantage of me. I simply wouldn't survive. I wouldn't be able to hold my own in a job, stuff like that. So my justice work in exploring that emotion, my work would be sitting with that version of myself as a child and asking that child, or asking that emotionally sensitive part of me, what I would have preferred, instead of being told, being this way is not going to be productive for you. Being this way is going to be a danger to you. You won't be able to build a successful life for yourself if you continue being this way. What response would I have preferred? What response would have worked for me in order to feel safer in the world? What response would have worked in order for me to be less fearful? And in answering that live, obviously, I think we can all assume what the answer would have been, but just to, even for my own healing, verbalize it out loud, it would have been receiving the support that said, you are perfect the way you are, sensitive as you are. You do need to form some boundaries, obviously. However, that is not to say that the way that you are is not perfect. There is a road of success for you in being exactly who you are, as you are, emotionally sensitive, and you can trust in your life and in your environment and in me, this being the voice of my inner parent. You can trust in me to protect you and form adequate boundaries for you to be able to protect yourself as and when. However, in general, you do not need to change. You do not need to feel any shame for being as emotionally sensitive as you are. You can continue in this world releasing your fear, release the fear you have built up inside of you, the fear, shame, and guilt you've built up inside of you over being an emotionally sensitive person, and simply be yourself. Just be yourself. And then allow the actions of being yourself to lead you to form proper boundaries. Trust yourself, essentially. So yeah, it feels like a lot of psychological work is at play this week. And if you are somebody who is in this kind of processing, you should book a therapy session and explore that specifically, the inner child work, and unpacking those feelings of shame and guilt. We need to be more ourselves. We need to stop making decisions from places of fear. It feels like we are still doing that, in as much as you would think that you're not, which is, not what I thought, but I really did figure that it's not this intense. But clearly it is, even with the way that I started this live stream. I'm still processing intense feelings of shame and guilt that are completely made up, very made up, self-inflicted. So yeah, good luck to all of us with the psychic exploration that we are in for. And I also just received in passing to work with water more. If you're somebody who is open to that, pray over your water as you drink it. Put whatever prayer intention you have and drink it, or keep a glass of water by your bedside, by your window, by your bedroom door before dreaming at night, so that it can help you with your dreams. And be kind to yourself. Be very, very gentle with yourself as you process your emotions. It feels like there's going to be a lot of emotional work, but the scales will balance. 2 major arcanas falling out. Again, as I've said before, I like to say that this means that for the most part we are allowed to surrender, and that the universe will do its thing for us. I feel called to just quickly touch on this energy here, the Justice card. So the way the cards can tell me it's been done against the person. I'll have to take the time to explore that separately, because I think there are many layers to it. But I think there's a way to find vague answers for pretty much anything. But I'll have to explore more about what you mean by that question. Please find me in DM. I'd love to talk about it. So the Justice card speaks of clarity of vision, ability to act with integrity, and a sense of justice, which is interesting because I believe that this card speaks of the same kind of frequency of acting from integrity. Fair play, righting wrongs, balance, cutting through the dross to get to the truth within. Again, this card speaks of the same. Weighing a particular issue against your own behavior to ensure you are acting from the highest principles. Again, same energy. I love that. I love the frequency of confidence that comes from both of these cards. Feels like we're going to be very confident in ourselves and the way that we move. Again, which speaks of shedding the shame, which I feel very proud of us for, especially the people that I read for. We have very soft hearts that led us into very deep, dark, twisted places of shame that we never needed to feel. Possibility of legal issues. Check the small print, which is very important. Checking the small print before signing contracts, taking on new projects. Very, very important considering the fact that we are in the shadow period of the Mercury retrograde. And again, 2 other planets going retrograde this month. Please, please, again, double down, slow down before doing anything, before taking on new things. Something that I have been needing to do that feels small but very important is to and I guess this feels like a metaphor. It feels like an actual metaphor to start your car, to let it warm up. I do that with my mother's car. Start it, let it warm up, let it run first, and then go. Drive slowly. Please don't speed or turn corners before it's cross the road, before looking left and right. Something about water, but I'm not entirely sure what that's about. In this side of the world, we're going through water shortage issues, so that at any point in the week, we'll find ourselves in a water shortage and not having any water. So save up on that, I guess. Put water aside. Drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. And please look after your health. Very, very important. Very, very important. Especially over the next few years. Stay ahead of your health. And yeah, that's all I have actually. I hope that I didn't fearmonger. I hope that you can stay grounded in the remembrance that you are powerful. I want to remind you of the cards and how they were telling of the relationship between your inner and your outer world. Please remember that you are, while you are not as in control, I think this world taught us that we are in control in the wrong ways. We are more in control than we think, and it didn't need to take as much work as this labor has, as the capitalistic labor of being alive led us to believe. It doesn't have to take that much to be in control. But we also need to know when to surrender. For meditation and manifestation. Wonderful. I do the same. So yeah, clearly we're all on it already. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to end it off here. I think I've done more than enough yapping and reading. I think it's going to be a very productive, an extremely spiritually productive week for all of us. And I really hope that no lower frequency vibrations lead you to thinking otherwise. You are always aligned. Even when you feel like you are misaligned, you are always aligned and exactly where you need to be. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for your presence. And again, thank you so much for being alive. I appreciate it more than I can actually say. Even if you are a stranger to me, I'm very, very grateful for your essence. It's very helpful.